Good evening. Hello, Dr. Ward. How are you? Good evening. Thank you so much. I have a few introductions before I provide some remarks to frame the evening. We have with us today some very exceptional individuals who make a huge difference for Murray State University in our past, in our present, in our future. The first person I would like to introduce is a former president of Murray State University, a former member of our Board of Regents, and also the former chairperson of the Board of Regents of Murray State University. Would Dino Curris and his wife Jo please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Murray State also has an exceptional partnership with Western Kentucky Technical Community College, and over the past 10 years or so, we've developed a fine relationship, and then over the last 6 months with their new president, we have even furthered that relationship and then furthered those bonds. Dr. Anton Reese and his wife, the new president of Western Kentucky Technical Community College, is with us. Dr. Anton and your wife, would you please stand and be recognized as well? Thank you so much. We are in the midst of the legislative session, and that always presents a problem because we do invite legislators, and typically, because they are in their session, they do not come. But today, a member of the House Education Committee, a new representative from Muhlenberg, Representative Melinda Prunty, did take the trek from Frankfurt to be here with us tonight. Would she please stand and be recognized and give her a round of applause for all that she does? Thank you so much, Representative Prunty. We also have members of our Board of Regents with us tonight. They include Phil Schooley, who represents the staff, Catherine Farmer, who represents the faculty, Sharon Green, and Jerry Rhodes. Would they please stand and be recognized? Thank you very much. Welcome to the 2017 Presidential Lecture. Today's theme for the lecture tonight is We Have a Dream. Are we living it? And this topic, at this time, in the history of the United States, is so very important to discuss. We do have an American dream, and it's a dream that should be for everybody, regardless of race, color, creed, religion, political beliefs, gender identity, sexual orientation, or any other thought. And it's a dream that all should have access to. And so when we have this dream, what are the barriers that prevent from everyone achieving it? What are the opportunities that we must present for everyone to have an equal opportunity for them? And it is important that we have this discussion now more than ever. And it is also equally important to have it at a university, a nationally acclaimed university like Murray State University. Why is it important to have this at a university? The American public higher education is for individuals to transcend their lives, but not only transcend emotionally, but also to ascend spiritually. And it is also because of the university setting that we've so fervently held to, that everybody has access to it. It is appropriate to have this discussion at this time, at this place. Over the past year, I have talked a lot about the marketplace of ideas. And what is the marketplace of ideas? The marketplace of ideas gives the opportunity for everybody to come, to express their ideas, to share their thoughts, to challenge ideas and theories of others, to question what is in place, and to propose what needs to be in place, and not to be fear for retribution based on issues that divide us. And unfortunately in America and in this time across the globe, those are the things that are occurring. When we look at universities across the nation, what are we seeing? Freedom of speech being derailed, expression being suppressed, people because of one identity or another not being granted access to the full resources that they have. Tonight, we challenge those thoughts. Tonight, we look at and say, how do we become better? How do we see ourselves as a member of the marketplace of ideas? A marketplace of ideas only works if everyone has access to it, that we do not prejudge. Do we not eliminate individuals from entry just because of one checkbox or another? But how do we make sure that everyone is emotionally secure and stable and ready to enter that marketplace of ideas? Murray State unabashedly has a goal of being an exceptional and excellent university. And the only way we will be able to achieve that is if we provide you, our students, the opportunity to compete on the global scale, to compete at the global level and be successful in that effort. And the only way that we will be able to assure that is if we embrace all people at all times and provide you the opportunity to think of things from the perspective of others, to understand how others feel, think, and do. Because only then will you be able to truly collaborate, communicate, compete, and show compassion at the global level. And only then will we be truly an exceptional university, when there are no barriers, when there are no hindrances, with the exception of how hard you will work, how hard you will try, and how you will help others. That is what tonight is about, and we look forward to these discussions. Tonight, we bring forward 3 outstanding graduates of Murray State University who on a national scale discuss these issues, lead these issues, and not only for universities, but for organizations and companies and for individuals to follow. So tonight is a very, very special night, and I am so grateful that you are all here. To introduce those 3 wonderful individuals, I would like to bring forward Mr. Clint Combs, the student member of the Board of Regents, and your current Student Government Association president, to introduce our speakers. President Combs.
Thank you, President Davies. The title of the evening's event, We Have a Dream, Are We Living It?, will focus on diversity efforts within higher education and include 3 very distinguished Murray State alumni. Each guest will address the audience, and a question and answer session will follow involving each of the 3 speakers. Our first distinguished speaker is Dr. MarTeze Hammonds. Dr. Hammonds is the inaugural Associate Dean for Diversity and Inclusion at Arkansas Tech University. A Murray native, Hammonds attended Murray State and earned his Bachelor's of Science in Theater in 2005 and a Master of Science in Organizational Communication in 2006, as well as a second Master of Science in Human Development and Leadership, emphasizing in college student personnel in 2008. While earning these degrees, Hammonds was employed as a member of the Murray State Athletics Department, as the inaugural academic counselor, and as the director of Champs and Life Skills. Hammonds also holds an educational doctorate in higher education administration from the University of Arkansas. Hammonds has earned numerous honors and awards in areas of academia, leadership, fraternal, volunteerism, and the community. On May 25th, 2012, the City of Murray proclaimed that May 25th of each year will forever be known as Dr. MarTeze D. Hammonds Day in recognition of young role models. Dr. Hammonds. Dr. Jerry Sue Thornton is CEO of DreamCatcher Educational Consulting Services, where she coaches and provides professional development for new college and university presidents. She began serving as president of Cuyahoga Community College in 1992. She retired June 28, 2013, and was presented by the Board of Trustees with the title of President Emeritus. A native Kentuckian, she earned a bachelor's and master's degree from Murray State University and a PhD from the University of Texas at Austin. She is also a graduate of Harvard's Institute for the Management of Lifelong Education. She holds honorary doctorates from the College of St. Catherine's in Minnesota, as well as Youngstown State University, Cleveland State University, the University of Toledo, Baldwin Wallace College, and Cuyahoga Community College. Dr. Thornton serves on many corporate and nonprofit boards. She most recently completed her 5-year term as a Murray State University Regent and received the Murray State University Diversity Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016. Dr. Thornton. Our final speaker this evening will be Dr. Walter Bumphus, who is the president and CEO of the American Association of Community Colleges and currently serves on Murray State University's Board of Regents. Bumphus holds a bachelor's degree in speech communication, a master's degree in guidance and counseling from Murray State, and a PhD in higher education administration from the Community College Leadership Program at the University of Texas at Austin. In 1992, Bumphus was recognized as a distinguished graduate from both Murray State University and the University of Texas at Austin. Bumphus holds the distinction of being one of the few leaders in the field of education to receive the Association of Community College Trustees Mary Y. Martin CEO of the Year Award, to chair the AACC Board of Directors, and to receive the AACC Leadership Award. While he received a number of accolades for his service to higher education, one of the recognitions he is most proud of is receiving an honorary doctorate in education from his alma mater, Murray State University, that was bestowed upon him in May 2016 to recognize his lifelong commitment, leadership, and support of higher education throughout the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Bumphus. At this time, I believe Dr. Hammonds.
Good evening. We can do better than that. I come all the way from Arkansas. Good evening. Y'all. I stand before you first to acknowledge a few people, to say thank you for this amazing opportunity. I am well aware of protocol and my time restraints. I will limit my acknowledgments and hope to speak to many of you at the reception a little later. I begin with thanks to my Creator, to my family, my grandmother, my mom, my dad, siblings, uncles, nieces, aunts, great niece, nephews, cousins, all who are in attendance tonight. To all of my family members, I say thank you for your continued support. To my extended family, my God family, my friends, my pastor and moderator, Dr. Dwight Townsend, who traveled all the way from Arkansas with me to be here tonight, I say thank you. And that's kind of scary if you ever rode with me in a car. To President Davies, to Murray State, and to these distinguished lecturers up here with me, I am honored and humbled to be here this evening on this panel serving in this capacity with you. I aspire to be where they are and to be just like each of you in your careers, your experiences, and places of accolades. I am simply glad and honored to be here tonight. Okay, there went 2 minutes of my time. I have 10 minutes to tell you what I need to tell you and 3 minutes to sit down. The theme for tonight is, we have a dream, are we living it? I found this theme to be of great importance and significance as we bear witness to the heightened awareness of societal differences and the way in which we are treating each other. Let me be clear that we are not here simply to discuss a dream, but to answer the question, are we living it, in whatever way possible. A dream is a dream. A dream is defined by also good Merriam-Webster online dictionary as a series of thoughts, images, or emotions occurring during sleep. And I got an amen. Or a strongly desired goal or purpose, something that fully satisfies a wish. Think of these quotes by these folks. Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. Colin Powell said, a dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. Bo Bennett said, a dream becomes a goal when action is taken toward its achievement. Sometimes we dream what we may believe to be impossible to obtain. Do not stop dreaming. We must trust that our dreams are mere pictures and a glimpse of hope, possibility, and inspiration, or a strongly desired goal or purpose, something that can be fully satisfying a wish. We have a dream. Are we living it? As a boy, I dreamed to become a dancing mortician. Yes. As a young man, I dreamed of becoming an anesthesiologist. As a man, I dream of being a vice president of student affairs and a renowned social justice change agent. Although I am not a dancing mortician, not an anesthesiologist, not a vice president of student affairs, and have yet to reach the level of being considered a renowned social justice change agent, I have not stopped dreaming. I understood and I understand that dreams don't just happen because they are dreams. I dreamed of being called Dr. MarTeze Hammonds for a long time. This feat was a dream of mine, and it was made clear that I could and I should become a vice president of student affairs. And that dream and those desires came when I started attending Murray State University. Students, MSU is truly an opportunity afforded. Please lean in and learn as much about your academic discipline as possible, but don't neglect that co-curricular opportunities of learning. They are very important. Murray State and institutions across this nation have a responsibility to support and ensure inclusion for every person. We can't invite folks to our house and then mistreat them or allow others to do so. Murray State and higher education is the best place to learn about diversity and inclusion. Murray State is coined to be the marketplace of ideas. Consider this idea, this thought, this notion, this belief, if you will. More than one truth can exist in a space and function. No matter how you identify, your race, your color, your national origin, your sex, your gender identity, your religion, your non-religion, ability, disability, your sexual orientation, your truth is your truth. And that should never keep us from being able to work together or function in the same space. As an institution, students are relying on us, this sacred place, with each administrator, faculty, and staff, and student, to help us move from ensuring this institution from equality to equity. What is the difference? Well, I'm glad you asked, because equality says if everyone needs a pair of shoes, we give them the same pair. But equity says if everyone needs a pair of shoes, we give them the same pair, but the pair that fits them. However, we must understand that and remember that we're not giving up or giving someone a leg up, but we're ensuring that each and every one of our students are playing on the same playing field, if you will. Our students are living in a period of time where the fears of this nation have reared its head in so many forms and fashion. It is our institutional responsibility to create brave and safe spaces for all students. This crowd was once a dream of someone's. The stage and the many folks occupying this space tonight was once a dream of someone. So Murray State, we have a dream, but are we living it? Yes, we must move from dreaming to reality. It is important for us to understand that in order for the dream to come to fruition, we must enact and act and do our best to be our best. Some of my students posed the question to me here recently, and they said, Dr. Hammonds, are you woke? I said, huh? They said, Dr. Hammonds, stay woke. I said, huh? Now, I knew something was grammatically incorrect about this statement, but with me being the nerd that I am, I looked up what stay woke means. According to Urban Dictionary Online, it defines the phrase stay woke as deriving from the words stay awake. To stay woke is to keep informed of the things going on around you in times of turmoil and conflict in which the media has been heavily filtered. Crowd, we must stay woke. In order for a dream to be lived and for us to live out the dream, we must stay woke. Stay woke to understand that if any of our students or community members feel marginalized, unwelcome, or excluded, then we all have work to do in rolling out the welcome mat to our beloved Murray State University, our institutions, our homes, that each and every one of our students feel and experience authentic and genuine inclusion. We must stay woke to understand that an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. We must stay woke to understand that the dream will never be fulfilled if we remain asleep and simply dreaming. We must stay woke to understand that when one person gets to the mountaintop and see over into the promised land, such as boardrooms, executive positions, administrative roles, economic success, etc., that we must reach back and bring others to the mountaintops so that they too can see the promised land. Murray State, we must stay woke. That we understand that we can't discredit, ignore the cries of those who yell Black Lives Matter as to mean that every life doesn't matter. But that in yes, every life matters, which means we must include those lives who are consistently marginalized and underrepresented. We must stay woke to understand that each and every one of us must engage in becoming a social justice change agent in order for us to live the dream of love and not hate. We must stay woke to understand that this is the best place to figure out how to get along with each other, to be educated on how to function together. This is the marketplace of ideas. And oftentimes we say and do things that we don't intend to have such a huge impact. But I stopped by today to tell you that intentions don't always equal impact. We have to stay woke to know that more than one truth does and can exist in a space and function. It may not be your truth. It may not be your truth. But when we come together in this space, we can get work done. We must stay woke to know that we are not to judge folks by the color of their skin or their outer shell, but by the content of their character. You've heard that before. That doesn't mean that we can create, using existing stereotypes, the content of one's outer shell. We must get to know each other. Get to know each other. We must stay woke to understand that it is our responsibility not to sympathize with those who are marginalized or underrepresented, but rather empathize with us, be able to see through our eyes and lens, walk a mile in our shoes to understand where we're coming from. We must stay woke to understand that diversity and inclusion is not for the advancement of some and not others. When the dream is lived and we love each other, the requirement is on everyone. We must stay woke. We can't be asleep. We can't rest until the dream is lived. We can't just exist, but we have to start living. Listen to the words of Edgar Allan Poe when he wrote and penned, "I slept beneath the moon. I basked beneath the sun. I lived a life of going to do, but died with nothing done." Murray State, I leave with you in my last 2 minutes or 30 seconds that more than one truth can exist in a space and function. Dr. Martin Luther King dreamed of a day that his 4 children could attend school with all races. Look at this audience. We're living the dream. Murray State, Murray, Kentucky, and those in attendance, please know that you must stay woke to live out a dream. That you should be working to move the needle from equality to equity. That diversity without inclusion shouldn't exist. And that more than one truth can exist in a space and function. Dr. Benjamin E. Mays said it best when he said, "I only have just a minute. Only 60 seconds in it, forced upon me, can't refuse it. Didn't seek it, didn't choose it. But it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it. Give an account if I abuse it. Just a tiny little minute." but eternity is in it. Let's not waste any time and live the dream of hope, peace, love, and prosperity. We have a dream. Are we living it? Yes.
Amen, MarTeze. Amen, Dr. Hammonds. Well done, sir. Good evening, folks. It's truly an honor to be back at Murray State and to be with you this evening. When I asked Dr. Davies a little earlier how much time did I have, and he said 15 minutes, I said, Dr. Davies, it's hard for a president or a former president to clear his throat in 15 minutes. So I'm going to try to get through this really quickly. I've got some prepared remarks I would like to make to you, but I think we're going to have a Q&A session later. But I want to just start by the topic. We have a dream, and are we living it? My initial response and my continued response is yes, absolutely, comma, but we do have more to do. And the reason I make that statement, it would be ridiculous to stand here before you and say that we have a dream and are we living it? And at least in my life and what I do professionally, being in Washington, D.C., and by the way, it's just great to be here. Any place outside of D.C. is pretty good right now, but it's great to be here. But having had the pleasure and the privilege of working with former President Barack Obama, former President George W. Bush, former President Bill Clinton, former President George H.W. Bush, it's been great. And when you see that litany of folks I'm talking about, you know we wouldn't have had that group of presidents were it not a dream that is certainly coming true. But we do have a lot more to do. So I want to give you a context from which I make my comments. I've got about 3 points I'd like to make tonight. First point being a little bit about my background. Second point being a little bit about what I've been doing. And just the third point, a little bit about the future, a little bit about my background. By the way, I want to take just a moment to acknowledge some really good friends in the room too, because without them, I certainly wouldn't be standing here. Dino Curris was recognized earlier, but I was backstage. I don't know where he's sitting. But Dino, Dr. Curris is the gentleman that gave me my job here at Murray State. Right as I finished my undergrad degree, I was getting ready to go to Princeton, back to Princeton. I had an offer to be an assistant football coach, assistant basketball coach, teach speech, and drive a bus, $5,100 a year. And my wife and I thought it was pretty good. And then Eddie Hunt came up to me, and Bob Mobley and John Yates and E.W., my good friends out here in the audience, my partners in crime back when I was here. And Eddie convinced me that free housing and $6,300 a year would make me a rich man. And it did in many ways. Not in my pocketbook, but Eddie, thank you so very much, my friend. But I also wanted to acknowledge three of my college classmates and one high school classmate, a lady that went to school with me, grades 1 through 12, Agnes Wilson. I saw her earlier. She and her husband, George Rafford. Agnes Wilson was, there they are, Big G and Agnes and Jonathan White and his lovely wife. Guys, it's so good to have you here. They were with me when I was here as marshal, and we were riding in the parade, and every time I looked up each corner, there was Big G and Jonathan running. And I don't know how you guys did that, but thank you for being here. Now, a little bit about my life. Growing up in Princeton, Kentucky, first generation college student when I got here at Murray, my career in Princeton really kind of prepared me for Murray State. I grew up in Princeton, one of 10 kids, neither parent having graduated from high school, and went to an integrated high school in 1963. We were the first class to integrate Caldwell County High in Princeton, and for many of us, and I know Agnes would support this, I had never been to class with a white student, really had not seen white people very much unless I went downtown. And then on Leave It to Beaver, Ozzie and Harriet, and Father Knows Best. And when I got to school, I found out that my classmates that were white had really not been in class with any black students either. And not all of them grew up in Leave It to Beaver homes. Not all of them grew up in Ozzie and Harriet. Not all of their mothers were walking around and vacuuming with pearls on. And so that was a refreshing experience for me as well. But that certainly prepared me in many ways in terms of my mother's encouragement to do well in high school, and I made honor roll a few times, and athletics kept me actively engaged, and so those things prepared me in many ways to fulfill the dream that I have been able to live. When I think about my life growing up in Princeton, Kentucky, and where we are today, I referenced 4 presidents. I've had the privilege of meeting 2 of them. I've had the privilege of working with. It can be nothing else but a dream. When you think about growing up in Princeton, and that Princeton's a great city, and I wouldn't take anything for that experience, but to be where we are now, living in Austin, Texas, my working in D.C. and living in D.C. with a condo up there too, that's got to be a dream. You couldn't make it up. I heard MarTeze talk about he dreamed about getting a PhD, and he obviously achieved that dream, sir. I couldn't dream that. I never saw a role model, African-American person with a PhD when I grew up. I had never seen an African-American president of a college or university. So some of the things that I've had a chance to achieve, some of the things I've had a chance to do were without those opportunities of role models and mentors, but we had a chance to have that opportunity. And in many ways, that's all we could ever look for. But I came to Murray, and I have to say to you that Murray honestly was a game changer for me and for my wife, totally a game changer. I had a number of caring faculty and staff. I had a number of caring friends. I just mentioned a couple of them. And you're going to hear from probably a lady that's now my best friend. We've been best friends since we met each other in middle school. And I owe so much to her, but it's been great to have good friends, and many of the friends I made here at Murray, they've become lifelong friends to me. But the Murray experience was a great one for me because after being here in school, I learned the value of getting along with people, learned the value of relationships, and that has served me well. So for those of you in the room as students, take the advantage of every opportunity you have to meet as many people as you can, get to know them, develop genuine relationships with them. Dr. Hammonds talked about the fact that there are going to be a lot of people you'll run into here at Murray, much different than when I was here, because now you all have so many international students. I met a lady tonight from Belize who's a student, and those are experiences that will serve you well when you go into the world of work. The world of work is not what it was when I entered the world of work. There's more technology, as someone referenced earlier, but there are more expectations for you for accountability, for you to be able to get along with people, to work in a team, and those are all great experiences for you. You know, when I think about that dream, I also am reminded of the opportunities that I've had as a professional to hopefully create some dreams for others. I've had the benefit of being president at 2 community colleges, chancellor of a community college system where I oversaw 40 different colleges, University of Texas at Austin where I was chairman of the Department of Ed Admin and now CEO of the American Association of Community Colleges, where we represent 1,100 colleges. But one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that I have had 29 people that have worked on my staff that have now gone on to become college presidents and chancellors. Eddie, I've tried to train them just like you trained me, buddy. Working with people, and that's the big difference, and the people skills really make a difference. Speaking about my family earlier, we have been totally blessed. We've got 4 kids. Some of them I talked about, most of them I talked about at the graduation. Is that rain and thunder? Okay, I thought that was you speaking for a minute, MarTeze. You were bringing the, you brought it, brother. But back to the speech. We're very fortunate. 2 of our daughters in what we call the family business. One daughter is a vice president of a community college in Cleveland. She has her PhD. The other daughter is working on her PhD at a university in Texas. She's a dean of students. Our son, Michael, he and his wife, Holly, have 9 kids. I said 9. They've done it, twins and 7 others. And then our youngest son, Brian, is like many of you who have a son or a niece or a daughter who's perhaps hadn't found their way yet and is sort of navigating. My wife was trying to get him to get a degree recently, and she was sitting down with him going over his transcripts. He had 5 different transcripts from colleges we didn't even know he had attended. And so we have been working with him, but I'm so proud of him and what he's doing now. He's gotten a lot more focused and got a good job and doing all those things that we would want him to do. I think about how wonderfully blessed we are, and did we have a dream? Yeah, but we couldn't have dreamed that we could be as blessed as we are. We live in a wonderful community in Austin, Texas, and we're fortunate to be in a community. And I'm thinking about, we have a dream, are we living it? We have a community that I live in Austin that has a number of African-American millionaires, one African-American billionaire, a number of Hispanic millionaires, and so there are a lot of people that are doing very, very well in this country, but yet we still have a society where there are far too many young kids, young brown, black kids that are growing up, and from their zip codes, their life is almost predetermined. And that's what we have to change in this world. We've got to be in a position where every kid can, just like a young boy growing up in Princeton, even if he didn't have a dream, have opportunities that with hard work, support, he or she can do very well. I speak with a lot of business leaders from around the country almost weekly, and I'm talking with them about their business and what they need from the standpoint of future employees. I talk with business leaders who are contemplating moving their businesses from communities, and the one thing they all talk about, they need qualified, skilled workers. They don't really care what color they are, what gender they are. They don't care if they're gay, straight, whatever. They're just looking for folks who have skill sets. And I can tell you from my own experience and being on the board here, I know the students here are getting a very high quality education. They're getting great experiences. They're traveling, they're volunteering, and they're doing all those things that's going to prepare them to do very, very well in life. So as I close my comments, I just want to say to you that from the standpoint of the question we were asked to respond to, I say unequivocally, we have a dream and we are fulfilling it, but there's still so much for us to do in terms of higher education for everybody. Education is the game changer in life, and in my opinion, one of the very, very soft, subtle bigotries in our country is not giving everybody the right opportunity or an opportunity and having low expectations. We've got to give folks expectations. We got to hold them accountable for what they got to do. And folks, again, it's great to be with you. Thank you very much.
Aren't you glad you're in here rather than out there? Well, we are glad that you are here as well, and that we are able to join you this evening. I too would like to thank Dr. Davies for the invitation to join you, and certainly along with Dr. Hammonds and Dr. Bumphus would like to acknowledge all the wonderful leaders, friends who are in the audience this evening, and I think half of Dr. Hammonds' family. So we thank all of you for being here, particularly the students, because Murray State University is about teaching and learning and experiences. When we ponder the question of, are we living the dream, we have to think about our own lives individually as well as collectively. And isn't it great to have a dream that maybe still in some ways are unfulfilled, in some ways not so thrilled that it's unfulfilled, but it does give us something to work toward. And a part and a piece of that is learning to live together and have courageous conversations. I would say over the last couple of months, I've been engaged nationally with groups that are having courageous conversations. They're talking about what they fear, what their hopes and dreams might be. How can we come together and gain without someone else losing? And that's a big part of where the whole dream is. Virginia Sitar said, "I want to appreciate you without judging, join you without invading, invite you without demanding, leave you without guilt." And in my mind, the American dream is inclusive. It isn't excluding anyone at the sake of inviting someone else in. It's trying to figure out how can we hold on to who we are and understand who others are. Understand what makes them happy, understand what fulfills them, and at the same time, understanding our needs within this body, within this collective. It's important that we allow people to have a sense of worth and a sense of value in order to be included. And so part of, I think, what we are trying to achieve now is find a new normal. Where are we moving to in this whole area of diversity and inclusion by inviting everyone to the table with his or her own individual talents and dreams? And John F. Kennedy said, "Things do not just happen. Things are made to happen." So I have been a study of leadership for many, many years, and I think it begins with leadership, which is why I'm so thrilled that we have student leaders in the audience this evening. Because leadership is intentional, and it all begins and ends with leaders. And we are all leaders in many, many different ways in our community, in our homes, in our families, and certainly in our circle of friends. We tend and hopefully will continue to tell truths, to have courageous conversations. Part of the courageous conversations are about listening deeply to others. I mentioned to the students this afternoon in talking with them that Oprah Winfrey has a wonderful article in one of her latest magazines where she has talked with 10 different women across political lines to ask them about their beliefs, their fears, their goals, their dreams. And the wonderful thing about reading this article was that these women were truly listening to each other, even though you could hear in their conversations huge differences and perspectives as they looked at the world. Whether you're from a small rural community where there's a lot of isolation, which is the kind of community that I grew up in, Earlington, Kentucky, 2,800 people, still 2,800 people when I go back today. Nobody dies and nobody's born, still 2,800 people. A small community where I wasn't exposed to a lot of people and certainly not diversity in religions and beliefs and ways of living and culture. So it was coming to Murray State University as a student that I had an opportunity to see lots of different people from many places. We had a lot of students from New Jersey, from New York, who came here to play sports. We had students who were international students who came here to go to school. So it was an opportunity for me to broaden my perspective and begin to really realize my small world wasn't the only world. And if I was going to grow and eventually compete, that I needed to learn as much as I could about other people and keep an open mind that they probably would think differently than I did, they probably would do things differently, and certainly would have been raised in different ways than I was. But to keep an open mind and acknowledge their humanity, that they were an important part of the full spectrum of life and of people. And that I had to suspend my own beliefs, my own background, who I was, and began to take in more, to broaden my perspective. I was telling the students this afternoon that where we sit is how we see life. My husband and I often travel together in the car, and he's usually driving. That doesn't keep me from helping him drive. I often give him directions from where I sit. And I forget that he has a broader perspective than I have in the car. He has more mirrors that he's looking at, he has more views. But it doesn't stop me from helping him drive. But I finally realized that when I'm in the driver's seat, I certainly see a lot more than he's seeing in the passenger seat. And so part of our goal in living this American dream is to have the obligation and responsibility to broaden our perspectives. And certainly Murray State University is a wonderful place to do that, to broaden our perspectives of others, how they live, what their dreams are, what their fears are, what are the challenges that prevent them from accomplishing those dreams. And so a learning institution certainly is there for helping our students to broaden. Why is diversity and inclusion important? Why is it important here at Murray State University? It allows the students who are here to grow and to maximize who they are as people, so that as they move from Murray State, they have an opportunity to succeed in the careers of their choice. They have an opportunity to grow in teams, as Dr. Bumphus said, along with others who have different lifestyles, who grew up differently, perhaps different financial backgrounds, but they can come together in a way, in a purposeful way, to move an agenda forward, to move the American dream forward for so many people. It's important for these students and for us to be able to engage in conversations about social issues, issues that are important, cultural patterns, how we all are living and how we are all growing and achieving. As I think about women today, I think about the young girls who need to be encouraged to move into career areas that perhaps are not natural for them. They've not been encouraged to think about engineering or high-tech careers or STEM careers. And so we have an obligation to broaden the hopes and dreams and goals of our female students to look more broadly at their opportunities so they can achieve parity and equity in careers and in salaries and in the way they grow. So you see, I see diversity as far as color, as far as race, as far as ethnicity, as far as religion, but I see it more broadly. I think each of us brings with us our backgrounds and our lives, but with a pattern and an opportunity to expand it. In a world where not everyone believes that that's the case, that not everyone believes that we can together flourish, that the pie is broad enough for all of us to have a slice of the American pie. As we begin to think about how important it is helping these students to understand that everyone fits into this dream, that there is a place at the table for everyone, that fitting in becomes important, because if students believe and if people believe they fit in, they will achieve their maximum. I've often seen students who didn't think they belonged in college, and consequently, the least thing that happens to them, they're ready to leave the institution. We have to help our students understand that all fit into our institution, that some may learn differently, that some may gain insights differently, but there is a place at the table for all of our students. Diversity and inclusion are exactly as they sound, acknowledging the presence and the right for all of us to be, to exist, and to maximize our potential. Murray State University has embraced diversity and continues. Are we there yet? No. It is something that we strive for and will always continue to strive for, because getting to know each other and opening up beyond who we are takes a lot of courage. And so leaders have to be courageous in forging an agenda that allows us to move forward in an inclusive way. It is intentional. It is with planning. It is with outreach. It doesn't happen in a way without our being engaged fully in the process in a meaningful way. We have to consider the future of our students here, and if we don't take that step, they too will not have the opportunity to move forward. You know, practice makes perfect. And this inclusion and diversity is about practice. It's about opening up ways for people in our community to do business with Murray State University, who are small businesses that are owned by women, small businesses owned by diverse population, to gain an opportunity for financial parity as we work together. It's also about knowing that it's not a one-time and one-size-fits-all, that it is the inclusiveness that allows us to try on many garments and many outfits, that it is different approaches to connectivity and different approaches to what we are doing. I would leave you just with one thought, and this is something my father said to me many years ago, and I think it's true about the American dream. When I first came to Murray State, and as I was leaving home, my father said to me, you know, your achievements won't happen as an elevator. There is no elevator to the top. It is one step at a time. And I believe inclusion and diversity is certainly about that. It's each day doing something that opens our minds and our perspectives, that include others, includes a different way that we see people together, creating that fabric that is and will be the American dream. Thank you for having us.
Thank you ever so much, MarTeze, Jerry, Sue, Walter. Amazing discussion and points. We are having a bit of weather, if you couldn't tell, but we're all safe in here with among friends, so please join us. Now is a time to ask questions, to provide comments to our esteemed panel. There are microphones down at the front. We have student ambassadors that will help guide those microphones, so please make your way down, hold your hand up. They'll bring a microphone to you, or make your way down to one of the students, and we do encourage questions. Coach Stewart said that for every football player that asks a question, they won't have to do laps later tomorrow, so just want to put that out there. So thank you, Coach Stewart. Go Racers. Some of the students did provide me a question or two, and I'd like to pose it to you as they get their nerve up to ask some questions. So we'll start with MarTeze. You work with students all the time. What would you suggest to our students today to prepare themselves for the time after they leave our hallowed halls, as they enter the workforce, to prepare themselves to not only excel in their technical side, but also on the social side? And how do they prepare themselves to deal with the things that will be thrown upon them? So MarTeze?
Thank you for that.
Hey. All right. Learn how to work the mic first. So I believe that students, you should be a sponge. Soak in as much knowledge as possible. Ask as many questions as you see fit to ask. And when you get tired of asking and when you get tired of learning, keep doing it. Keep doing it anyway. Because there will be challenges, there will be tons of obstacles for you, but there'll also be times that you'll look back and say, wow, I learned that at Murray State. Oh, now I see what they were talking about. Yeah, I can say that now. I'm 34 and I'm, almost 6-7 years removed. But it's really true when they say that. It's really true. But then also be brave. Know that it's okay to mess up, and know that it's okay to make mistakes, and that you will make mistakes. And as we talk about diversity and inclusion, as one of nation's experts, I kind of sound kind of cool saying that now, in diversity and inclusion, I still make mistakes. And you will make mistakes, but it's how you correct those mistakes and what you do with yourselves and others and how you treat others with you learning of that mistake. Maya Angelou said, to know better is to do better. To know better is to do better. And so take those words, take that motivation with you when you leave Murray State. And so I think that is what really would prepare our students for the workplace and for life after Murray State.
Another question came forward, and Jerry Sue, I'll provide this one to you. As our students and others leave Murray State, and they're going to, after they get into their first position and move up, they're going to assume leadership roles. You do a lot with current leaders, a lot with university presidents. We are in a very dynamic environment. What advice do you give to leaders in dealing with diversity and inclusion and the ambiguity that comes along with it?
Maybe
You got to do the hip hop like MarTeze did.
first I would say it's a little tricky. One of the things I would say is get out of your comfort zone early on. As you gain a new position, think beyond who you are and broaden the perspective. Find ways in which you can spend time with people who are different than you are. Understand that teams are made up of a lot of different talents, different skills, different ways of doing things. And so be willing to risk by stepping out of self and opening yourself up to others who have views that may certainly be different than yours, and a willingness to incorporate those views in your thinking and in your planning. Be purposeful about your hiring and making sure that as you hire a broad perspective of people from different backgrounds, so that you're not hearing the same thing over and over, and you're not reinforcing just what you think, but versus you're bringing in so many different views, because you'll be serving a lot of people. Teamwork means also trusting, knowing that your team members have some skills that you may not have, and that they certainly will bring something to the table. I always tell leaders, as a quarterback, you can't and shouldn't always try to take the ball down the field. And when I see a quarterback start to run, it makes me a little nervous, Eddie. I think there are other positions and other people who can move the ball down the field. Be willing to give it up. Be willing to step back out of ego and incorporate some of the differences that are there on your team, the strength. Have faith that they will do the right things and that they will certainly bring the goal home for you. So teamwork, collaboration, from a leadership perspective, I think is so inclusive, so important, but it's trust, and it's making sure you have the right people in the right places and that you give them an opportunity to do their jobs.
So, Coach Stewart, what do you think about that quarterback running down the field? Good idea to keep him in the pocket?
He's good at it. He can run.
One of the questions, Walter, that has been posed by a community member for yourself, in your role, you deal with a lot of different communities on a nationwide basis with the community college systems that you work with. How should a community engage with a university or a community college to support its efforts in diversity and inclusion, and how can the role of a community be embraced by the university, and vice versa? How can the community itself support the efforts of the university?
I'm on. Geez, I sound like Barry White with this mic. Great question, Dr. Davies. I would say that to the extent that the community feels comfortable on the campus, they need to be here. I have observed tonight that there were a number of people from the community, people from Murray that we knew when we were here. And so that shows me that they feel a great comfort level in being here with you. I think the other thing is you need to let the president know, whatever community you're in, that you want to meet with him and share with him some of the goals you might have for him regarding diversity and inclusion and equity. And those are such important issues. I can't imagine a president in the country of any college or university who wouldn't welcome that dialogue. And then the president, he or she can take that and run with it. It gives them ammunition back at their university or their campus to say, we need to make some changes. You know, I'm reminded a little bit of something I get asked a lot, including tonight. Walter, how are you working with President Trump? And my comment is always, I'm really optimistic about it. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to tie this all together with his question. Because I often say that if you're not at the table, you'll be on the menu. Okay? Think about that one for a minute. Because if people in the community are not at the table with the university president, then there's a chance their needs won't be met, their interests won't be served.
Thank you very much. And I do have to comment, during the presentation, I was able to come out and watch from the audience. And I do have to say, especially with that question, that we are very blessed at Murray State to have a wonderful and supportive community. I saw Mayor Rose and his wife Janice come in. I did not see them before, so I do want to acknowledge the wonderful support that we received from Murray, and specifically the mayor and the city council, and Councilman Hudspeth is also here. So Mayor Rose and Janice, would you please stand and be recognized, and Councilperson Hudspeth, would you also please stand and be recognized? One of the questions that has also been posed to me, and this is for all three of you, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, the definition is changing ever so frequently, and it is also brought in with as you mentioned, with President Trump coming into the presidency and different things that are going on, the ambiguity and the fluidity of how we work and how we go. We were talking earlier today about some of the legislative actions. How would you, as a leader, who, and I think we all fully embrace the importance of diversity and surrounding ourselves with individuals who do not think, act, and look like us, so that we are able to achieve that sense of excellence. With all of the fluidity and all the ambiguity here, what are some of the thoughts and ideas that you would give to not only leaders and aspiring leaders, but just individuals as we navigate these times? Since you have the microphone, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I don't know whether I'm a baritone or a soprano when I speak into this thing. But great question, Dr. Davies. I do believe that, unfortunately, in many cases, some of our rhetoric and comments can have unintended consequences, and I think we're starting to see a little bit of that. So it's so very, very important that as leaders, we need to be very, very careful of not only what we do, but what we say, because in many ways that helps to frame a picture, and right now we're dealing with some of that on a national level. And unfortunately, again, it's driving some unintended consequences, I think, in many of our communities. But I also believe strongly in the value of communications, and I think when people can look face to people, sit down and talk with them, and have an opportunity to talk, Jerry called them courageous conversations. In my opinion, those courageous conversations also lend itself to better understanding and people working better together.
I think that as we look at diversity, it really is uniqueness, that each one of us has our unique personality, our unique background, our unique culture, and bringing that together in inclusion is certainly a wonderful pattern. And so part of, I think, our coming together is taking those unique talents and acknowledging the humaneness of that, acknowledging that who I am is different from you, but I can appreciate who you are. I can provide you with the opportunities as students, as fellow workers, as team members to thrive, to grow. My mother worked as a maid for many, many years. I grew up a very modest family in Earlington. And to this day, I don't go into a motel or a place of, sometimes it comes in and goes out. But I don't go to a hotel or motel or any, yeah. I don't know if it's some working.
You want to do it? How about you talk and I'll translate? How about, is this one on?
Testing 1, 2.
Hold it that way. I don't go into a hotel or motel or a restaurant without acknowledging the person who's working there, the person who's going to be waiting on me as a customer and a client or a guest. And the reason I do that, it certainly harkens back to who my mother was, but it's more than that. It's acknowledging the humaneness, the presence of another human being, that all work is valuable work. Doesn't matter what kind of work you do, doesn't matter what the salary is. That person is a living, breathing individual who needs to be acknowledged. And the sad thing is when we look through those people, past those people, they feel less than human. And so I think that's what the inclusion and the recognition of all people really is about, is acknowledging. We don't have to love each other. We just need to acknowledge that we all are human, we all exist, we all have needs, we all want to be part of this fabric of America, and is there an opportunity and a place at the table for that?
Yeah. Hello? All right. I think that we should not forget what we're taught when we're younger. We're taught the golden rule oh so often in school, to treat others the way we want to be treated. We also need to remember the platinum rule, to treat others the way they want to be treated. And so if we could just think back to those days when it wasn't really a significance of how different we were then, but it was just about how we got along. What was the task at hand? Then I believe that it won't be so much ambiguity on defining diversity and inclusion. Those two terms are married. They always go together, right? Diversity statistics on paper. But inclusion is making sure that we authentically and genuinely include folks in experiences and ideas and thoughts and who they are. And so I think that if we stay true to what we've all been taught, how to treat other people, and go back to those basics, then I do believe that we will move the needle in diversity and inclusion a little bit more towards the idea of living and working together. But just take a deep breath and think of those times that you've been biased, and think of those times that you may have thought someone as less than, that you may acknowledge someone being marginalized, privileged, or powered, or less than those two, with no privilege and no power, we'll call oppressed, and see how they felt. And how would you feel if you were within those same shoes and living those experiences? If we empathize with those folks, I guarantee you would stay woke about what's going on in society and what's going on that's moving the needle the other way, away from being diverse and being included.
Thank you very much. Tonight has been, in my mind, an amazing achievement to hear these words of wisdom and to have this dialogue and this discussion. I think it is all clear that we do have a dream. It is now for us to go out and truly embrace it and live it, and make sure that when we live our dreams, we are enabling others to live theirs as well. I usually end every presentation with 2 words. I will do that this time, but it won't be "Go Racers." It'll be a little bit different. But before we depart, for those who live in the Mayfield area or are traveling that way, we invite you to stay with us for a little bit longer. Enjoy some of our hospitality. There's a strong windstorm up there. We would hate for you to go into it, so stay with us for a little bit longer. For those others, we hope you stay as well. It is a little stormy outside and it's warm in here, but especially those in Mayfield, join us. So instead of ending with "Go Racers," I'm just going to say, stay woke. Thank you. Godspeed. I'm getting flashes real quick. Would you all please come down this way? We will bring